This podcast is sponsored by Velo Yellow, providing bike transport to events across Europe. Supported also by Fear the Turtle Triathlon Coaching, Conway Cycles and Vitalize Omagh. Contact details available in the episode description.
Folks, you're very welcome to episode 74, and this is a very new experience for me. I'm looking at Stephen Moody. Stephen, first of all, you're very welcome onto our very first video podcast.
Thanks very much. I'm delighted to be part of the launch. And I must say, you're a very good-looking man, Mickey.
Well, I always figured that I had a face for radio, to be honest. So I think that's beauty must be in the eye of the beholder. But Stephen, absolutely delighted to have you agree to come on to the podcast. I suppose got to know you when I was preparing for Ironman Ireland back in 2023. Naive and somewhat terrified, went onto YouTube and typed in some bits and bobs to try and suss out what this race course might look like. Lo and behold, Stephen Moody's video popped up. The same happened to me actually with in preparation for Lanzarote as well. So I have since discovered your vast amount of experience, all those wee videos, all those tips, the knowledge, the sharing that you do, absolutely amazing stuff. And we'll talk about all that during the podcast. Let's start off, as I always do, with a wee trip down memory lane. Where did all this start for you, Stephen, back in the day? Were you always a sporty dude, or were you rock and roll like myself?
I wasn't as rock and roll as yourself. I was always involved in sport. Mainly, actually, rugby was my game as a young lad. As in, started off that as very in juniors, like under 8s, etc. Played all the way up till college. Played in club, and in terms of that's where. But again, rugby back then, you train twice a week. You play a match fairly hungover on a Sunday and all the rest. So I had a mixture of it. I was always active, but I was fairly good. I was more renowned, and it's lots funny here. People will hear this from my past. They always think I was a bit of a booze hound, but I've evolved from that, and I think that's also I actually got badly injured in rugby, and I had to give up rugby, and then I got into running, and then I got into triathlon, and I slowly moved away from the boozy lifestyle, so I'm more into endurance sports, into triathlon, into, as I said, marathons, Ironman, etc. So yeah, was always active, but doing I didn't even know what an Ironman was back in college. I think I only found out what an Ironman was in my early 30s.
It's a similar sort of a situation for myself, albeit that I had no sporting at all. I mean, you had some rugby going on in the background, but certainly the university years and the boozing and the partying and whatever else that goes with it was all par for the course back then. I think it was just a different world, really, to be honest. But you mentioned there that you started getting into running initially. You'd mentioned a wee injury with rugby, so maybe that was the catalyst.
Well, there was two catalysts. One, I was told by the doctors that I had to give up rugby and I shouldn't do any running. So I thought, I'll take up running. Rugby was always a big part of my life from the social side. I did enjoy being active, and then suddenly I was told, look, you could damage your back proper at this age. And then I just sort of took up running recreationally, and I was running on my own, really enjoying it. And then there was another side of the thing that happened to me. Unfortunately, my father was diagnosed with cancer around that time. And I decided that Irish Cancer Society were really, really good to my family during that time. And I decided I wanted to do something for them. And I went, okay, I'm going to raise funds. I have no idea what I'm doing here. And I went, okay, I'll run a marathon. Because at that age, everyone still knows what a marathon is, okay? So I signed up. And I did it and I raised money and I had a goal of raising £500. For some of your newer viewers, This is when we actually had Irish pounds. It was before the euro. And I also had so I ran Dublin City Marathon in 2003, and my father got me to see that, doing that dressed as a French maid, which was, I'm going to blame my younger brother on that, because back then we didn't have, like, the internet was in its infancy. Oh God, I sound really old. But like, you didn't have like Just Giving sites, or you didn't have like, just sites you set up. You literally have to send out an email to everyone in your email box and go, by the way, my dad's not well. I'm doing this to raise money. And I made the mistake of including my brother on it. And I went out for lunch. I came back, and there was like 100 replies. I went, this charity gig is easy. Except I got really worried when I started reading them back. As per Ian, the younger brother, Ian's suggestion, if you do what Ian says, I'll give you 50 quid. If you do what Ian says, I'll give you 100 quid. I went, oh, good God. Ian was the first person to reply. If you do it dressed as a French maid, I will sponsor you 50 euros. So I had to run my first ever marathon dressed as, I would like to point out, a rather hot French maid who made it into 3 of the tabloids on the front page.
Brilliant stuff. Fishnets and all, I'm assuming.
I'm not a man for doing things by half measures, Mickey. The only thing I held back on, which I thought was a little bit, when you really too hard, is the stilettos. Everything else, had the wig and the very shorts and the apron. I looked hot.
Oh man, that was must be a sight for sore eyes. That, but brilliant stuff. Running kind of floated your boat then for a few years. You chipped away at that. You got on with loads of different events. And all of a sudden then you decided, let's give this triathlon carry on and go. What was it that made you think about triathlon? Had you seen something? Had you heard something? Maybe read something? Or what was it that kind of sparked your curiosity about triathlon?
Well, it was one of my friends. My best friend was John Caird. He decided, like, he knew I was doing a lot of the running. And by the way, the running, the way I was doing it was very solitary. I was doing it on my own, and I wasn't even part of a club. And it was very boring, to be honest. I'm quite a good runner, but it was very boring. And he said, let's try this triathlon thing, and let's do a try in Dublin City. And I had no idea. I turned up, and I literally did it, my first try, and I was on a mountain bike. I was stopped going out of T1 because I was told my helmet was on backwards. But did it. I was literally the second last person out of 100 people. I caught one, was a guy on the run at the end, and but completely hooked. As I said, this is absolutely fabulous. And because not only did I see it was a cool challenge, like the swimming was brutal for me, cycling was brutal, I was good at the running. But the club, because it was one of these club run events, you could see all the guys having a bit of crack afterwards. You could see all the different club mates talking and cheering. And I was like, you know what, this reminds me of the rugby camaraderie that I really miss. But it's a new fabulous challenge. And as I said, I'm pretty sure I can get into the top half of this. I don't want to get beaten into the last. And I'm quite a competitive individual. So then I actually joined Piranha Triathlon Club, who are actually ran the event, and that was the start of it. Now, my friend did a couple of triathlon for a couple of years, but I completely, being very obsessive compulsive, went full bore into it, joined the club, was on the committee, and it's just, and ever since I haven't looked back.
You sound like a wee bit like myself in the sense that you're an all or nothing sort of a dude. Like, you just go straight in there and go, okay, this is what I do now. Let's get on the committee. Let's do this. Let's do the other. Was it all just full tilt, full pelt from day one? I do note that you were in the club for a few years before you stepped up to Ironman, and I guess we talked about this before we went live as well. How some people kind of get into it and they automatically want to shoot for the stars. They want to go for the Ironman straight away. Was that even an option or a thought when you initially joined?
Not at all. To be honest, I'm sensible enough in the sense I knew I had so much to learn after the try. Literally, I had 2 canoes following me, going, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, this is great, canoe escort." But I kind of knew I had, and it was, and the way the club built it up, they had a really good new to try program, and they brought you through it, and they talked about, they had club races. They said, do this sprint first, and I went, okay, cool. And then actually, you're kind of learning what a sprint distance is, what an Olympic distance is. And it was only midway when people were doing wow, he's done Ironman Zurich, and I went, oh, Ironman, and literally, and you're sort of going, So I had to even figure it out. But I took a very gradual approach. And as we were talking beforehand, that was just my approach to it. I wanted to be good at certain things before I tried to take on something that was huge. And again, the same way yourself, that you did sprints, Olympics, and kind of like half marathons. And there was it wasn't a plan, but it seemed more logical to do sprints. Kind of, okay, then I didn't die in that one, do an Olympic and like do one of the harder Olympics. And then I think actually in just year 3, I did my first 70.3. And then year 4, I did my first Ironman. But that was it was sensible pace. I still had a very active social life. So I was still like all these people doing training on Saturday and Sundays was a bit wild for me at the time. I'd like to have at least one day when I'd be on the piss. But yeah, so it was a slow, gradual evolution from pisshead into Ironman.
That sounds like a podcast all of your own, like from pisshead to Ironman. I like it.
I won't compete with you. I think I like your one.
Yeah, well, I could have legitimately called mine that, and nobody would have batted an eyelid. But so you've already mentioned there, you did your first Ironman sort of 4 years after joining Piranha, and it was Ironman Frankfurt, back in 2010. There's always something very special about your first Ironman. Talk us through what you can remember about that first Ironman experience.
It was, it was a phenomenal event. As you know yourself, Mickey, when you turn up, when you see the road show, the kind of the big Ironman PR machine and the red carpet, it's fairly mind blowing, and you're actually wetting your pants. And anybody who turns up, I still wet my pants a little bit when I get to a start line. I'll be very honest, and I've got 12 finishes in the bag, but. Things that I took away from it, it was actually a non-wetsuit swim, which is terrified me because I was still a very weak swimmer. It was so hot, but it was the course itself was brilliant. And Frankfurt, it was the European Championship time, so it was just so well sectated. The other memory I have is that an ex-girlfriend, the girlfriend at the time, came to support me. And she liked her glass of wine at the time. And you didn't realize what a spectator sport was like for a spectator. So she was there sitting right on the run course, and a 4-lap run course. And she's going around and she was meeting people and just drinking with random people just to keep herself occupied. So every time I saw her, she was getting more and more drunk. And the 4th lap, she was passed out on the Irish flag. And I'm going, oh no, I have to deal with this later on. But, and then obviously the actual finish line, there's that's, as you said, you don't forget that. You tend to forget the long, hard, miserable bikes where you sort of go and you're questioning, what am I doing? Can I do this? Still the self-doubt. But just the run up to... I also... It's also a 4-lap course, and they used to hand out the orange bands, and I was being passed. I was on my first lap, and I'd been passed by one of the female pros. And again, I was a strong runner, so I was running quite well. And we're kind of alongside one another for a bit. And you're looking at, and she had 3 armbands. So she was on her final lap and she was heading home. And I went, hey, I tell you what, if you give me 2 of your armbands, I'll bring you out for dinner. And she goes, no, you're too slow, Irish man, and dropped me like a stone.
Dream on.
She went out for 3rd. So she came 3rd overall. So I think I'd like to claim some of the credit. I must check out her name again. But yeah, that sort of... that sort of energy, kind of fun, and just the whole experience. You're kind of, as I said, you're walking on air for a little bit while you're limping on air, let's be honest, for a few days afterwards.
Absolutely, that's brilliant, yeah. I don't know what impact or effect you had on her, but certainly she podiumed that day and you struggled on, she plodded on. Your reward was a pissed girlfriend at the end of it and a few blisters on your feet. She ended up getting a sponsorship deal and lived happily ever after.
It was just a sliding doors moment. It could have worked out much different. I could have left the girlfriend on the flag and I could have been off with my... I think she was Danish.
So close and yet so far. Brilliant stuff. So tell me this, Stephen, you've already said there you have maybe 12 full Ironman completions under the belt. Presumably you've done a few 70.3s over the years as well.
14 70.3s. I'm more successful at 70.3s. I've been to 2 world champs there as well. I was in South Africa for Port Elizabeth, and I was in Vegas as well for one of them. I qualified. Where was it? In Antwerp, and I qualified in Mallorca. But I really, I really want to crack the full one and actually get the World Championships in Kona at some point.
So it would take too long for us to kind of pick through them all. So I've decided I'm going to just try and ask a few simple questions to try and get a wee bit out of you, try and spark the old memory. Let's start off with the toughest course, in your opinion. And I'm reminded, I'm very conscious as well. You've done a lot of course reviews, so you may feel that what your own personal experience of toughness is compared to what the general view and the consensus online and around the world is. So, your personal toughest course, and does it stack up to all the other documented tough courses around the globe?
Again, I know without hesitation, it's Lanzarote for me. It's like as I said, there's so many things about Lanzarote makes it a tough, an absolute kind of like an amazing challenge. At that stage, you're still doing a mass start swim. The sea can be quite choppy. It's hilly, it's hot, it's windy. And the thing that summed it up for me, it's really hot on the run. But when you're running past on one of the laps, as I said, the one thing that actually really kind of summed up the day, all my gods have forsaken me. You're going and you pass the back of the airport and you're getting sandblasted by some of the jets taking off. And I went, this is just like they couldn't make this stuff up. So for me, Lanzarote for definite. And again, you're right. I'm curious about, like, as I do now, YouTube interviews on guys like New Zealand, Lake Placid, Nice, of races I haven't done yet. Always, my bucket list is growing. And I always in the back of them, and I tease them a little bit and so go, what's the elevation there and that? What's the heat? And what about the wind? And I definitely think no matter what course you throw at it, if you're taking out the Enduromans and Norsemans of this world, I think Lanzarote is always going to be up there in the top 3 hardest Ironman in the world, without a shadow of a doubt.
The other thing that got me whenever I was out there was the smell of burning rubber with the airplanes that were landing as well. Because just the smell of the burning rubber actually turned my stomach. I was like, Christ of Almighty! They don't tell you this in the briefing. So there's all sorts of crazy stuff, and you're absolutely right. The roar of those jet engines, the smell of the fuel, the smell of rubber, all sorts of stuff, and then the food. It's a brute. It is an absolute brute.
But so I think that was your first one, was it? That was your first one, wasn't it?
No, I did Ireland first.
Oh yeah, Cork, yeah.
Yeah, so I experienced a fair bit of elevation in Cork in 23, and then I figured, well, if I've done that, it was actually a conversation that I had with a guy who said, if you can do Lanzarote, you can do any of them.
Yeah.
And not knowing at the time that I would ever chance another one, I figured, well, I might as well do that one then, because then I can satisfy myself that I could get round any course then off the back of being able to complete that. So that's kind of why I done it. It's a bit weird and a bit perverse, I suppose, but it is what it is.
But I agree with it. And some people would like, as I said, you're doing Barca as well this year, right? And it's a world of difference in terms of every Ironman hurts, right? Like there's no, you still have to run a marathon, you still have to cover 112 miles and all that. But there's just certain pain points that, like for me in Lanzarote, I had around 7 points where I was questioning my life choices, whereas in Barcelona you probably have 3. And again, and your times, you can't compare them at all. But again, Barcelona has its own challenges as well in terms of some of the heat and all the rest, and some of the busyness of the roads, etc. So, but yeah, definitely, if you can do Lanza, I would agree with that. You can do more or less everyone.
Brilliant. You've mentioned Barcelona, and you have answered Barcelona as your most enjoyable event. Talk me through why Barcelona, the redemption race you referred to it on your timeline.
Yeah,
what's all that about?
I when I got into the Ironman, then I'm very competitive in terms of suddenly you go like, okay, right, I've done Frankfurt. I want to go. What's a big challenge? Going under 10 hours is a big challenge. Okay, grand. I'll target that. And I went and I targeted Roth as a challenge Roth, which is a superb race, very difficult logistically, but it's a superb race and one of the most energetic supporters you'll ever find on the track. And I had got myself into the shape of my life. I was working with my initial coach, a guy called Ty Cronin. He's a guy who actually got me into coaching. Superb guy. He got me. We talked about the plan. We got to the point where I was definitely in sub 10 shape. And Roth is, in theory, meant to be a quick course, but I had a puncher, and I had one, and like I could fix punchers, but I hadn't. First time I was using deep rimmed wheels, and I didn't have a valve extender, so I had to wait for moto support, and I lost 45 minutes sitting there. So I had trained for a good 9 months and shaping my life, and I was just I finished Roth. I enjoyed it. We had a load of piranhas over. There was around 20 of us racing. It was a great day, but in terms of, I felt that I'd underperformed, and then a lot of guys were going, actually, and there's this when races didn't sell out. Barcelona is open, and it's in 8 weeks' time. And I went, I can't do that to the missus. I promised it would be like, you know, when you sit down and you explain, like, I'm going to be gone for like 6 hours, and I'll be gone at 7, and I'll probably be back at 3 on a Saturday. How cool are you with that? And then I promised we'd go on a holiday. I promised to be and I went, I just need to go again. And Barcelona, myself, and 3 other guys who had really bad races in Roth, again, mechanicals, punchers. And I went, and it just, everything clicked. It is a fast course, bit faster than Roth. And I managed to clock 9:48, and I had the best race. The weather was perfect. I was racing with 2 of my really good friends. Both of them had superb races. It was just, after Roth, look, every Ironman medal you have is so hard earned, and I was happy with that. But I just felt I felt that let down myself, felt that let down my coach. But then suddenly, as I said, Barcelona, complete redemption. And I think at that point, that really copper fastened my complete love for distance racing, and just trying to learning to be adaptive and sort of go, look, you don't take any setback as terminal. You just figure out the next step.
Absolutely. There's a lot of things that can go wrong on what is a very, very long day out. And it's about being able to adapt, as you say. Thinking about all your races, all your experiences, what would be your dream event or your dream result? If those two are separate, then that's okay. So maybe your Barcelona sub 10 already was your dream result. Maybe a qualification for the coveted Kona. I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, Kona has to be up there, as in like anyone saying I've done whatever 12. Anyone who says that they're not, and I've done a couple of non-Ironman ones, so they say that they're not interested in Kona, they're telling a lie. So yes, I'd love to qualify for Kona, and that would be a dream goal. I've had to take a step back in terms of the intensity of my training for kind of a recent medical event, which we'll probably talk about. But also, one of the events I really want to do well in, and because I really enjoy the course, and I've done it a couple of times, is Ironman Texas. It's a fantastic course. I love the energy the Americans bring. It suits me as an athlete. It's a flat course. It's a good time of year as well, the start of the year, if you want to just get set up and you want to do national series and you want to do maybe another Ironman at the end of the year. I've gone close to 11. No, I did 11:01. So I want to go back there and do sub 10 in Texas, because I think it could be done. And that would be my dream race. Again, because some of my travel buddies like to go there. So you have like 4 or 5 lads who you kind of you have really good travel companions. And again, I'd love that moment where we all get our goals and we all sit down, we're having a couple of cold beers and a sports bar, just sitting there, loving life.
No, that's class. That sounds like a dream that any one of us would have. All your experience, all these races, all your knowledge has made you to become quite a formidable coach. And I've already kind of alluded to the fact that you've got, I don't know, shed loads of videos on your YouTube channel, all sorts of tips and top advice and bits and bobs. What got you into the coaching, and how long have you been at this coaching carry on?
I got into the coaching, I think probably around almost close to 20 years now. And I got in from, and again, complete credit to one of my original coach, Ty Cronin. he brought me along a journey, and I saw the way he coached, and I loved the way he approached the science of it. I loved the way he was emotionally brought into my journey, to the point where we'd be having like quite in-depth conversations. Again, we were training together, and he was a brilliant coach, and he taught me a lot of things, a lot of how to manage, how to the science of it. And then he went and he got married. That's when our breakup happened, and he had to do a bit more of a serious job, so he went into financial services and the rest. And he stepped away from the coaching, and himself and I think there was around 5 other guys in his stable, as he called us. And he said, "Look, guys, I just don't have time. I've got to focus on this. We're going to have a family, all that sort of stuff." But then the other guy said, "Would you, Steve, you're into the science of it. You're into the data. You love the equipment and all that. Would you take on us?" And I went, "Lads, I don't have a coach." And I went, "Just trust us. Do stuff that Hyde does and we'll figure it out." Took on 3 of them. They all got PBs. And then everyone was asking, "How did you do that?" And I said, "Well, Stephen did." And then suddenly people started coming to me. And then I had to start, and I went, "Actually, I enjoy this." I was a soulless management consultant, one of these guys who puts in IT systems that puts people out of work. And I was having a bit of a crisis of conscience. I didn't really enjoy that. And I went, this could be something, as in, I do enjoy this. I'm good at it, look at the results. So I did a lot of certifications, at Ironman U certification, there's a nice t-shirt, Training Peak certification, into Triathlon Ireland, all that sort of stuff. And over time, it just grew. More and more people were coming to me. I wasn't advertising, but people would go, "Who's training you? Who's coaching you?" And I suddenly had a point where I had to go, actually, I can't do this part-time anymore. As in, I need to make a decision where I go, do I take on, because I think you can handle, if you're part-time, you can handle 8 athletes, because you're kind of looking at the stuff each night. But if anything over that, you need to have chunks of time. So I made the decision to go full-time, and I grew my stable, and then I got quite big with the one-to-one stuff. And then I also found Training Peaks. You can sell training plans there, and that became another source of income, which was great. And then of more recent years, the YouTube, I've stumbled into that as a way of kind of reaching a lot of people in a very, easy to digestible fashion, and build out my kind of, and it's another revenue stream for me. So yeah, which allows me to pay for these rather expensive race entry fees.
It's great. It's a fantastic resource. And as I say, I stumbled across it just with my own curiosity, having never understood really what I was getting involved with, and looking for some advice, looking for some guidance, looking for some sort of template for what this whole adventure is going to be. And there it was. It was all there. Your race, your course review for Cork was exactly as you said. Again, whenever we went to Lanzarote, I searched straight away. There's the Stephen Moody video. Bang! I'll watch that, because I knew that the one that you had done for Ironman Ireland was superb, and yes, fantastic. You did that with Oliver Harkin, who's been on the podcast before. We shout out to Oliver. So absolutely amazing. But you've also done loads and loads and loads of course reviews all over the world. But the other wee thing that you do, and I find it brilliant, is all the other wee tips, the bits that people just don't think about. And one of them is something as simple as, whenever you and Oliver were talking about the swim in Lanzarote, and this didn't occur to me at all, that the sun was rising on the horizon out to sea as you would be swimming into it, and therefore the importance of getting a tinted goggles. It's all those wee bits and bobs. What sort of stuff have you got? I mean, is there anything that you haven't covered yet on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, no, and to be honest, as I said, we were having that little bit of chat beforehand, as in, I really enjoy I've moved away from just having, I do have lots of kind of training content and sort of stuff, but I really enjoy the race reviews, because, as I said, I get a chance to interview excellent coaches like Oliver, like Wendy Matter from the States and all that, because I started doing the races I've done, and then suddenly you're kind of done, okay, I've reviewed 10 courses, because I've done 10 courses, I've done Barca a couple of times. And then I went, actually, but I know people from Training Peaks, I've been on conferences, and I went, hey, I know you live in California. Have you done Ironman California? Went, yeah, let's do an interview on it. And I go, Oliver, I know he knows that Lanzarote way better than I have because he's done it like 4 times. I went, Oliver, can I interview you and all the rest? You get a bit of exposure. And I love that because not only, as you said, you start chatting through, and I'm still learning, like, as I said, I'm coaching kind of like 20 years, whatever, but I'm still learning new tips from other like foreign coaches, like some of the South African coaches. Andre Becker, it turns like, you should use a Ziploc bag. I suppose I shouldn't do an accent. You should use a Ziploc bag but put ice down it because when it gets very hot, because that means you can put it on your kidneys or your, like wherever. And I went, I've never thought about that. So I pass that on to my athletes. So I really enjoy the race reviews. I've got around 100 race reviews. So if you go onto my YouTube channel at Coach Steve Moody, and if you would enter in search whatever race name you have, I guarantee you have a 80% chance that the review is there. If not, it's coming down the track, because now I'm kind of getting to the point where I need to find someone who's done Ironman Brazil, or I need to find a coach. I actually have just found one there, and then I have to set the time up with the time zones. But it's just cool, and my biggest thing at this stage is I've just got all these races now never heard of before, and now I really want to do. So I really need to make a lot of money out of it, or win the lotto, because it's very expensive. Because I need to go to New Zealand, Australia. So was it to Brazil again?
So your bucket list is already overflowing, and all these new races is just sparking all these new possibilities and potentials. And this sounds good, and that sounds weird, and that sounds wonderful. So let's get after it.
Oh, absolutely. And like and it's funny. I did another review there on race courses that have been retired versus what Ironman do. You kind of see their business model as well. Like, especially in the States, if a race doesn't perform, and a race for Ironman performing is selling out, if it doesn't sell out 3 years in a row, they just go, right, we'll just move from Michigan off to Utah. And so there's a lot of movement in it. So new races are popping up. I always say to people as well, if people go, oh, I'd love to do Lakes Placid, I've always heard, I would definitely just do races when you can, because there's no guarantee that some of these races will be around. Like, I do hope Cork will come back, but I think that for people who didn't get to try out that course, I feel sorry for them, because it was a superb course. The town itself got so into it. You all were such nice people. They did a number of camps down there. So yeah, I'm making out big long lists of things I need to do.
Happy days. There was another thing then that I wanted to talk about, was the Tour de France. Now, whenever I say the Tour de France, people are going, where is it going with this? So I want you to tell us where you went with the Tour de France, because it's just it's a bit of a sideshow, I guess, but it's something worth looking at.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, this is something that the YouTube channel opportunity spawned out for me. There was a crowd called Flutter, a big betting platform, and they had this charity cycle where you do the actual Tour de France, the exact 21 stages just a week before the pros come along, and they do it as part of raising money for Cure Leukemia. So they asked me to join their team to do that, and I had to raise, I had to raise 40,000 for my own sponsorship, and they covered that, and they covered all the costs for me to enter. And last year, in June, I did all 21 stages. A team of 12 of us. I did every single stage, exactly the same distance, exactly the same order, exactly the same. Like, we even did the time trial stuff, but we didn't race them because we were so knackered in the summer. And I'll tell you here and now, my respect for roadies has gone completely through the roof. I think they're all a little bit weird, roadies, but some of the stuff that the sheer exhaustion and logistics of it is mind-boggling. As in, like, literally, we stayed in was it 21 stages, but we only stayed in the same hotel for 2 nights. Everything else is you're packing. You arrive in, and we're not going half as fast as the Podgoricas of the world and Vinegars. So we're arriving in at 8 o'clock at night. We're getting food in. We're going to bed, and we're getting in on the team. We're getting up at 6, getting breakfast, being driven to the start of the next stage, literally, and then you're on the bike. So you have to have everything ready, and bikes and ours. Then you're cycling for between 6 to 12 hours if it's a hilly stage. But did all the Tourmalet, Alpe d'Huez, Super Basson, all the stages which I had only seen on TV, and I got to cycle them in person, which was amazing.
It's one thing to watch it on TV, and you could say that it's actually exhausting watching it on TV. It takes that long, and it's but doing it in real time. What was the bit that stood out most for you, if you can think of one bit?
The Queen stage where we were doing, was it, what, I think it was Rotterdam and Alpe d'Huez. I have to remember, like, again, I got very dizzied by all I was triathlete amongst roadies, right, and they know all the stuff, they knew all the teams, I knew a layer of it, but the stage 15 where we had two like Cat 1 climbs, it was just brutal, and it was the heat of the day as well, as in, like, you're sort of going like, oh, it'd be nice cycling in the sun, but like the heat in France, and you're trying to keep on top of hydration, and you're trying to just make sure that you don't get lost by the main group. And again, what the thing I took away from was the level of endurance and mental toughness those guys have, because you're going to bed sore, exhausted, and it's like doing an Ironman and going to bed and thinking, I have to do another one tomorrow, because you have that fear. So yeah, it was. But also, you get into this weird routine of, this is what happens. I go to bed, I get up, I sleep as much as I can, I eat as much as I can, I get on the bike, and I just keep turning the pedals. And again, we also, as a team, we raised close on £1 million for the cure leukemia. So that, I'd like to say that you're in the. It takes away the pain in the legs. No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. But it's quite. You sort of go, look, there's a lot of people hanging on this that we can't fail, and you'd all drag each other. And again, a little bit of teamwork as well, which I really enjoy. As in, like, lads, some days we'd have off days, you'd have a good day, and go, right, just push on through. I'll stick in my wheel. I'll bring you up this hill a little bit, or just hang in to the peloton a little bit more today, Steve, or you go at the front. Those team dynamics, it was fairly phenomenal.
It's brilliant. You've raised so much money over the years as well for various charities. Would you even have a figure on it, roughly?
I think I got around $250,000. And one of the things, actually, I didn't mention it, that $5,000 I raised for my dad, for the Irish Cancer Society, when my dad, unfortunately, did see me finish my first ever marathon, but unfortunately didn't last, passed away a month afterwards. And I made a challenge to do, I got his name, Liam Moody, and I wrote out that, and I figured out all the names of the different marathons across the world. I got Runner's World, and that was still a magazine. You still bought magazines. And it spelled out my dad's name with all the marathons, like London, the Rotterdam, and all the rest. And so I had to juggle around the letters a little bit, but I managed to spell out his name with all these top 10 marathons. And I did that over 10 years. And I raised, as I said, close on 200K for those guys. I raised another 40, 50K with the cure leukemia. So I think around $250,000 over the years.
Absolutely brilliant. Hats off. And a lovely tribute to your late father as well. That's absolutely class.
Yeah, no, it was nice for the family as well. The family got a kick out of it. They support me as well. My poor friends, who I kept on fleecing for money every single year. But no, everyone's been really, really generous and all the rest. But yeah, it's a nice, and it also, for me, that moment triggered my love of endurance sports, triggered changes in my own livelihood, my own lifestyle, how I approach things. It's been, while it came out of a bit of a tragedy, my dad passed away, it's been brilliant for me. As I said, I've opened up a whole world to really cool community, meeting people like yourself. I've made lifelong friends out of this. I've achieved things I never would have dreamed of in terms of Ironman times, marathon times, and I'm not done yet. I still a lot to give.
Brilliant stuff, Stephen. The other thing that's so important as well, and something that we don't really contemplate too much, just the important work that charities do, and we never know when we're going to need charity ourselves, and our lives can change in a blink, and that is something that you have had to endure and experience very recently, Stephen. I hope you don't mind me bringing it up, and I guess we're talking about what we will refer to in our notes as the heart-stopping moment. Talk us through what happened, and how you got through that period of time, and I suppose you're learning, because you have been quite vocal about it, and you've made some videos about it, but just in your own words.
Yeah, no, it was back in November. I was out on a club ride with some roadies I cycle with, and I nothing untoward, and I just felt a slight tightness across my chest. Now it was a freezing day, and this is the other thing, but I was sweating like a lunatic. I went, this just feels really weird. I'm not comfortable, and like once don't be soft. You got dropped last time. This doesn't feel right, and you're going devil and angel sort of going like, which one do I listen to? I listened to the guy who went, this doesn't feel right. And I didn't even say to the guys, I just went, lads, I'm not feeling it. I'm going to pull in. And I was cycling back of Wicklow, which is lovely, but you're in the back arse of nowhere. And I went, if I see next shop, cafe, whatever, I'm just pulling in. And lucky enough, it was a petrol station. And I pulled in and I called the missus on the phone. I rarely, like yourself, Mickey, I know this is my sport. So if I've punctured or if I'm mechanical, I fix it rather than bring her out to come rescue me. So I rarely call her, and I went, are you okay? I went, well, no, a bit of tightness in my chest, and I'm just really sweaty. And at this stage, I was ordering a coffee and a cake, because that's what we do when we stop cycling, Mickey, as you know.
Yep.
No, maybe not the coffee, Stephen. How about you try and get some aspirin? I went, because my head wasn't thinking. She knew, she was in the medical services, she heard chest, sweating, pains in my back, and she went, okay, just aspirin. So I got 2 aspirin, took them in, she belted down, picked me up, was brought into Blackrock A&E, and I was telling everyone, but again, I was in complete denial. I was going like, it's a bit awkward. Can I go up and get changed and I'll have a shower and I'll lie down and then we'll go to A&E? She went, no. So I went in, and the guys, and I was telling all the doctors, look, it's a bit embarrassing. Mrs. is panicking a little. It goes, okay. Had an ECG, nothing. Took the bloods, and I was still there. And then when the blood result came back, everything changed. Like the whole demeanor, as in like all the nurses or everything went, oh yeah, because I was in the middle of a heart attack. So they gave me the little white kind of cups where you get the tablets. Like normally I've only seen 1 or 2 in them. It was full of these other, like they looked like Smarties. So take all of them now. They were anticoagulants because they're trying to stop me having a secondary heart attack. Had an angio next day. I had a 90% blockage in my left ascending. My lad, I always get it wrong. One of the arteries here, it's called the Widowmaker. As if that blocks, it can cause heart attacks, and I was having one of them. They put in a stent, which is a small little metal pipe, which is microscopic. They put it in and expand it with a balloon, and it just clears the blockage. Had my echo to check that they damaged the heart. Went, by the way, there's absolutely no damage to your heart, which you were really surprised at, but you did 3 things that were really, really smart. 1, you stopped when you felt something weird. Lots of people will go on and they'll have a secondary heart attack in the middle of a cycle. They'll be in the middle of nowhere and hard to get to. 2, you took aspirin. So this is the little bit awkwardness. My wife will consistently tell me that you saved my life. Even when I say I can't bring out the bins, I saved your life. No argument with that. And then also I got into A&E so quickly. And they said also, well, the 4th thing was you're so fit, even when it was slow circulation, your secondary circulation kept the blood around, all your organs going and all that. So a lot of other people don't have that. So I had a heart attack 6 months ago. Frightened the absolute life out of me when I realised what had happened. I had to go into cardio rehab, which is essentially physio for your heart, and they kind of measure you, do more stress tests, and go like just to make sure that everything's working all right. Because I was so fit, and so with the Ironman and the endurance, and again, this is what stood to me. As some people went, all that cycling didn't do any good, and as the cardiologist said, by the way, if you weren't so fit, that would have happened around 10 years ago, and it would have been a lot more fatal. I went, okay, fair enough. Gone through all the cardio rehab, cleared to train again. I am signed up for 70.3 Talon in August. I'm using your good friends Velo Yellow, and I'm considering an Ironman at the end of the year. I'll see how the first few races go.
Unbelievable, and great tips there for any of us of a certain age. Anybody Anybody in kind of our age group, someone once actually recently had told me that whenever you get into your 50s, they refer to it as Sniper Alley. If you can get to the other side of your 50s without a heart attack or a diagnosis, you live long and prosper, sort of thing. So
absolutely. And the thing is as well, and by the way, would be my main tip for people. Even if you are top your age group, if you are doing Ironmans and marathons for fun, just go get a blood check. Just go have a health check, because being fit doesn't necessarily mean that everything's working inside healthily. As I said, and you'll find that whether your cholesterol's high, like we're terrible for eating lots of sugary stuff and processed stuff as we train. We go, I'm burning it all off. No. So you have nothing to lose. Get in a blood check. Get a doctor's appointment, because best case scenario, they turn out you're incredibly fit and healthy, and you go, hey. If they turn around, well, actually, your cholesterol's a little on the high side. Can you adjust here? You will just can't get ahead of this, and you won't have to end up in getting stents put in. I'm on statins now as well, which it means reduces my cholesterol, but that's just a pill I take every day.
Solid advice, and something that I've actually done. I done that about a year ago, and I must actually sign up for another blood test, because like that, figuring that I was fit, it was actually my wife who asked me to get a blood test done. I said, what the hell would I need to get a blood test for? Sure, look at me, I'm running this, that, and I'm out training 4 or 5 days a week and whatnot. Said, just do it for me anyway. If you're not going to do it, stop being so stubborn. But yeah, it was. I was low in vitamin D, which was very easily rectified with a wee shot, wee jag in the arm. That was that sorted. One of the cholesterol markers were up, and there was some precursor or a marker associated with blood sugar. So what I did was I made a few dietary changes and went back then 3 months later, repeated the test, and green lights across the board. Nothing to be particularly worried about. But as you say, had I not have got that blood test, those things would have continued to build in the background. Maybe 5, 6, 7, 10 years from now, I could have been looking at something pretty nasty. So we look after our bikes. We'll get our bikes serviced, we'll get our kits serviced. Let's get these engines and these pumps inside our own bodies. Let's have a wee look at those, make sure they're working properly. How's about that for a bit of advice?
100%. I love that analogy as well, isn't it? It's funny, you chuck whatever, you wouldn't go for about 3-6 months without getting your bike service. But again, like as I said, look, there's lads here who haven't had a health check since whatever, like years and years. And it's, as you said, best case scenario, like they just say, you have a clean bill of health, or it's some minor. It's not that they're going to tell you that you have to give up what you love. It's more a case of, if you do this slight tweak, you'll probably be better at what you do and what you love and all the rest, and you'll get more energy out of your fueling, etc. So that's, and again, another one where your wife, this time they are right.
Oh yeah, they're seldom wrong, to be honest. Absolutely.
You're right. We're right. My missus will probably watch this. My wife was always right too.
There's a disclaimer running across the bottom here now. Just we'll put some sort of a wee note in there. Only kidding. So I mean, this conversation, Stephen, reinforces the value that you bring as a coach, not only with your experience in racing and your knowledge of all things physiological, but you've been there, done that, and you've been to the worst end of things. You know now what not to do. You know the things that you should have maybe paid more attention to. So a valuable resource to any athlete that wants to avail of your services. How would a person go about getting in touch with you, or what way are you at the minute with regards to your coaching, with regards to sort of one-to-ones? Is it groups? Is it done by Zoom? What's the story?
At the moment, I'm more focusing on the YouTube channel, to be honest, as in I have a small squad of around 10 people, which I've been with for years and years. Sometimes people drop in and out, but what I tend to do is I will either, if people contact me, if they've very specific needs or we could be a good fit, I might take them on one-to-one. But again, this is all on my website, smartenduranceSolutions.com. And at the very worst, people can always reach out to me at info@smartenduranceSolutions.com, and even just if any questions, because I love to help people in the sport. The more people in this sport, the way our community grows and we have more fun to be had. Even if it's a case of I'll just give them a little bit of advice. And sometimes it's people that you go and say, listen, you're just starting off. You don't need a coach. You actually just join a local club, pick out a sprint. When you want to do an Ironman, or if you're looking for a podium, then there's lots of coaches out there. Maybe I'd be a good fit for you. Or if you're looking for a plan, I have lots of off-the-shelf plans that work with garments, etc. But yeah, my focus is mainly on growing the YouTube channel, because I think that's brilliant. I can get to, like, I've over 100,000 subscribers at the moment, and I want to grow that more. And like, I love hearing conversations from yourself. Like, I helped you out with a couple of races, like, and that it reduced a little bit of nervousness that you had heading into Cork or heading into Lanza. And again, I love also chatting to the different coaches. So if anyone needs any help or advice, shoot me an email, info@smartendurancesolutions.com. Realistically, I'll probably either point you in a different direction for a coach I'll recommend, or I'll give you a training plan, or again, I'll point you to something, a resource on my YouTube channel. But I won't ever turn anyone away. But as I said, in terms of one-to-one coaching, I keep it very tight. As I said, I'm trying to get more training in.
You're a busy man trying to get yourself in shape for all these races that you have all lined up. That's what you're up to.
That's it. And now that I'm no longer fueled by cherry bakewells, I have to actually sort of do a lot more training.
I'm a sucker for the old apple tart and apple puffs. I just couldn't have enough of them. But like all those things, if it's too good, it's not good. So
that's it. All in moderation, Mickey, huh?
Yeah, except for the training, of course. We keep chipping away. We'll plug away and endeavour to keep our goals achievable, I suppose, is the best way to put it.
Absolutely. And how are you feeling for Barcelona? How's the training going? You getting ramping up now?
Training is just about to ramp up. So I guess if people are watching this, at God knows when they're watching this, it's we're in the middle of May now. So we're approaching 20 weeks out. So my bike's going to start going up. So I got a 90k bike done today and a bit of a brick run off that. Training 6 days a week at the minute, all nice and low, about an hour a day. So an hour swim. I'll do a bike on a Tuesday. I'll have a rest on a Wednesday. I'll do a bit of a run on a Thursday. Wee bit of a turbo on a Friday. Then a long run Saturday and a long bike brick. So just getting them done, building consistency and training the body and getting myself disciplined. And yeah, looking forward to ramping it up and those lonely long days, but it'll all be worth it. People think we're all mad and we're all nuts, but once you go down that red carpet, I was speaking to a guy today actually out on the cycle, and he just described it. He says people have no idea what that feeling is like. It's an inexplainable euphoria was the way he described it, where you forget everything. I guess for us blokes, and here comes another disclaimer, and your wife will love this, as will mine. It must be like giving birth. You don't, the pain of the labour is vanishes when you see the child. It's bound to be the same, right?
I think so. I think also. I probably think that an Ironman race is probably more painful. As in, like, I'm just gonna throw that out there. I think it's just a disclaimer.
Yeah, I actually put a wee post out earlier on my social media if people just a bit of feedback on this being the first video, and if they would leave some comments, and I'm kind of dreading that now. Some of the comments below could be a bit dodgy. I could get myself lynched. So.
Well, it's more lynched by the missus though. But I think one of the things I agree with you, the euphoria of the end of the journey, as in like when you get there, it's just a culmination of a lot of hard yards, a lot of sacrifices, and also you see your improvements in yourself, your body composition, your energy, and you're redefining what you think is possible for you. I don't like to go too much into the Ironman marketing, like anything is possible, but it does make you kind of go, oh, I could never do a marathon, I could never do a 5K, never, la la la. You do move all along those paths, but back to one of the points we had at the start, for anyone thinking of getting into it, do take a slow build on this, because triathlon is way more than Ironman. Ironman is only part of triathlon. So we don't want We were chatting about this as well. People doing the one and done, like they do it and they just drop out of it. We want people in our community, people in who, like yourself, join the club, become part of the church, or the committee, kind of like help run races, do sprints, do Olympics, and just have the crack with it. It's not all. Yes, the Ironman experience is incredible and it is life changing. It has been for me. It has been for you. You've kicked off your podcast, kicked off all the other cool stuff you talk about. It's kicked off my business, but it's part of it. It's not all of it. And like, don't get distracted by that. Even if you have an Ironman experience and it's sore and it's hard and you didn't have a great day, you can get back into shorter distance racing, learn from people, talk to the likes of Mickey when he's out in his bike ride, talk to the people in your club, talk to other people. There's other stuff in it. It's triathlon. It is the pure lifestyle and it's great fun.
It absolutely is. Steve, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. And I look forward to linking in with you in the near future. Keep on doing what you do. Keep on banging out those wee videos. Absolutely amazing stuff. And a great resource. I'm going to pop a link to your YouTube channel and to your website in the podcast description. So once again, thank you very much. Take care and have a brilliant year.
You too, and absolutely best of luck in Barcelona. We'll be keeping an eye out for you and your progress.